This podcast is made possible with collaboration and input from the LinkedIn Digital Transformation Group with reference to Google News and Wikipedia.
Is your C-suite equipped to lead a digital transformation? The COVID-19 pandemic dramatically accelerated technology adoption across all industries. According to one survey, 77% of CEOs reported that the pandemic sped up their company's digital transformation plans, and as Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella noted in the early days of the crisis, "We've seen 2 years' worth of digital transformation in 2 months." A study conducted by Twilio found that COVID-19 accelerated companies' digital communications strategies by an average of 6 years. Historically, success rates for digital transformation efforts are dismally low. Many organizations rush to boost headcount and budget, hiring teams of talented engineers, data scientists, and cybersecurity experts. But to truly succeed, transformation also needs to happen at the very top, with the individuals who set strategy and allocate resources. Take Domino's, for example. In a mature and competitive industry, the company moved its stock price from $3 in 2008 to a high of $433 in 2020 because an integrated, digitally savvy top management team created a strategy that used data-driven experiments and decisions to redesign delivery routing systems, integrate ordering systems into a myriad of platforms, including text and smart TVs, and modernize every facet of the company. In our experience, long-held processes and norms for selecting top executives are notoriously slow to change. Financial literacy is a baseline qualification for any top executive. We need to think about technological and digital literacy in the same way. These capabilities that used to be nice-to-haves are now must-haves. Companies can't afford to have an executive who might confuse discussions about the cloud with small talk about the weather. Do today's top teams have the skills to undertake a true digital transformation? To answer this question, we conducted an analysis of more than 100 search specifications for C-suite positions in Fortune 1000 companies across a broad range of industries. These listings were posted between January 2016 and June 2020. More on the methodology below. Methodology. We compiled a list of all Fortune 1000 search assignments across all industries, conducted at Spencer Stuart. We found that the search for tech and digital expertise has been on the rise since well before the pandemic. 59% of the searches included technological and/or digital expertise. Tech is a broad term that typically encompasses technological techniques, skills, systems, processes, hardware, and software. Digital can be thought of as a subset of technology, typically referring to intangibles rather than physical assets. Companies sought these skills across a wide variety of roles, suggesting that many had already filled key leadership roles with the right people ahead of the pandemic, but some job roles were neglected in the search for technological and digital expertise. Not surprisingly, 100% of the specs we analyzed for Chief Information Officers, Chief Marketing Officers, and Chief Technology Officers sought technological and/or digital skills. But fewer than a third of the specs for Chief Human Resource Officers and Chief Accounting Officers mentioned these skills. Falling in between, at 40 to 60%, were searches for roles such as CEO, Board Director, and Chief Financial Officer. How roles have evolved. Based on our study of search specs, most companies focused on just a subset of job roles in their digital transformation efforts, indicating that many had not been taking a broad enough approach in revamping their talent strategy. Successfully navigating this digital acceleration requires a shift and expansion of responsibilities across all roles throughout the organization. Chief Technology Officer. In the past, CTOs were the resident experts in the opportunities and limitations presented by new technologies. Now, CTOs are being called upon to lead company-wide digital transformations. They not only need to formulate new digital strategies, identifying areas where value can be created through linkages between new technologies and the rest of the business, but equally important, they play a central role in motivating and aligning fellow employees to embrace these new initiatives and technologies. They serve as champions in building a culture that supports technology-driven strategic imperatives. Chief Marketing Officer. CMOs have traditionally focused on developing and implementing their organization's overall marketing strategy. This encompassed market research, pricing decisions, advertising strategy, and public relations. Now, CMOs must forecast future developments and adapt their strategies to contend with the ongoing evolution away from mass marketing and toward increasingly targeted and data-driven marketing. Internally, CMOs need to implement technological systems to track KPIs in real time, automate reports, and accelerate decision-making. Externally, the rapid proliferation of communication platforms and online direct distribution channels makes it imperative for CMOs to ensure consistency in messaging across channels and to grapple with constant, immediate feedback from being under the social media microscope. Chief Executive Officer. The CEO has long been in charge of setting and directing company strategy, making major corporate decisions, leading the vision and culture of the organization, and serving as the public face of the company. CEOs today need to manage this hefty set of responsibilities within the context of a rapidly changing landscape. They need to develop new business targets and goals and ensure alignment between functional areas and relevant stakeholders. And when a large-scale digital transformation is needed, success will hinge on the CEO's ability to articulate the case for change, communicate a forward-looking strategy both within the firm and to external constituents, and role model a culture that can drive the transformation. Board of Directors. Traditional responsibilities for boards include oversight of regulatory and compliance issues, monitoring financial statements, advising on company strategy, setting CEO compensation, hiring and firing the CEO, and nominating new directors. Now, the board's responsibilities are expanding to hold management accountable to a wider range of goals and targets that involve long-term innovation and investment, not just short-term financial performance. In today's world, the need for a digitally savvy board isn't just about taking advantage of future opportunities, it is also about mitigating new sources of risk. A board with directors who are technologically sophisticated will better prepare the firm for long-term success by being able to effectively advise on technological investments, select the right CEO for future needs, and manage their own learning and refreshment through new director recruitment and training sessions as needed. Chief Financial Officer. The CFO's customary responsibilities include financial forecasting, budgeting, and reporting, defining P&L investment plans, and managing shareholder activism and investor relations. Now, successful CFOs must also leverage new technologies to automate and streamline financial reporting processes and analyses. They need to maintain a progressive outlook when forecasting in an environment where revenue streams and cost structures are fundamentally changing. As the gatekeepers of much of the data needed for strategic planning and analysis, CFOs can play a central role in evaluating the costs and benefits of technological investments and in identifying new growth areas and other opportunities for the entire firm. Chief Human Resources Officer. For years, standout CHROs articulated and executed a people agenda that aligned with the business strategy. They are also currently playing a key role in the future of work and future talent strategies. Although tech and digital expertise is not a primary focus in many CHRO searches, today's forward-thinking CHROs are increasingly taking HR systems online and facilitating greater employee self-service capabilities. They're implementing HR data analytics systems and finding ways to leverage data in their talent management strategy. A major challenge moving forward will be the recruitment and retention of individuals with critical technological and digital skills and managing the internal talent pipeline in light of technological advancements. At their best, CHROs serve as a partner in change initiatives and culture transformations to foster innovation and agility. Filling the skills gap. This dramatic shift in job responsibilities is creating a skills gap in many companies' leadership pipelines that necessitates major changes to talent strategy. To find the right candidates, companies may need to rethink traditional promotion pathways. For example, rather than promoting the president or COO when selecting a new CEO, the search for a digitally savvy CEO might mean appointing a candidate from further down in the organizational hierarchy, a phenomenon called CEO leapfrogging. We've already witnessed this with Microsoft's Satya Nadella, and Cisco's Chuck Robbins, who was selected, in part, for their visions of how technology will be used in the future. Nadella rose up through Microsoft's cloud and enterprise group, helping him chart Microsoft's evolution away from its traditional business products and into services. Robbins was promoted from head of sales to CEO. While sales are not typically thought of as a training ground for tech and digital expertise, this role helped him stay on top of new trends through close relationships with customers. Job rotations can also play an important role in building a robust, future-ready leadership pipeline. Although operational roles are traditionally thought of as stepping stones to the highest corporate echelons, today's high potentials can benefit not just from rotations through jobs with P&L responsibilities, but also through tech functions. In the past, rotations into tech roles often left executives thinking, "Why am I being punished?" But IT is much more than just a support function. Now, these roles can provide critical skills and experiences for leading into the future. When the right candidates don't exist in-house, companies will need to turn to the external labor market. But they'll need to prepare to pay a premium. Individuals with tech and digital skills are in demand by many companies. This trend also has implications for firms with long-standing strengths in technology, which may find themselves being rated for talent. Companies will need to take proactive steps to retain their top employees. We see similar skills gap emerging in boardrooms. In a global survey we conducted of board directors, more than a third of respondents indicated that they personally struggle to stay on top of risk and security issues and new technologies. Further, just 13% of boards sought technological expertise with their most recent director search. In the words of one survey respondent, this has resulted in an overemphasis and overabundance of directors with financial and general management skills. Board turnover is typically low, and staggered board terms mean that changes to board composition take a long time. Boards need to rethink ingrained norms around board tenure, and also spend time on training and learning opportunities for current board members as they adapt to the business environment. Preparing yourself for future success. We think the next few years will see a revolution for many top management roles. The pandemic has exposed the executives who were not up to the challenge of a rapid technological pivot. In some cases, it has become clear that the wrong leaders are in place, and the only thing standing in the way of replacement is the lack of a suitable successor. Once boards and top teams have time to search for new candidates, and more candidates are unleashed into the external market after annual bonuses are dispersed, we will likely see tremendous amounts of turnover and a very turbulent environment that will highlight the chasm between the digitally savvy haves and the traditional have-nots. As the need for technological skills become more pressing, what can you do to stay current? We offer the following advice. For CEOs, you don't need to think of yourself as the expert on the leading edge. Having both the requisite leadership abilities and being at the forefront of technical proficiency is quite rare. Instead, endeavor to build the domain knowledge needed to lead organizational change, align the top team around a clear strategy, and ensure coherence across functional areas and work groups. Culture is an important facet of any change initiative and cannot be neglected. You play an important role in leading an innovative and creative culture that can reinforce technology-driven strategic shifts. Surround yourself with the right team, identify people in the organization that have vital expertise, create a seat for them around the table, and ensure that their voices are heard. You might need to change organizational structure to fully execute your digital transformation. On the other side of the coin, you might also need to make painful decisions about switching out other roles if current executives and managers are not prepared for what's to come. One study found that 70% of digital transformation efforts do not achieve their objectives, and managerial resistance is a leading reason. If leaders cannot get on board, it may be time for them to go. For senior leaders and board members, always strive to stay relevant, learn, and adapt. Continuously developing skills is critical to avoid falling behind. Consider how you can adopt a data-driven approach to all of the work you do. Things that have helped you succeed in the past may not be the best way any longer. Work to remain open-minded about how things are done. Resistance to new ways of working is a major barrier to companies reaching their full digital potential. Learn from the people who are ahead and the people who are behind you, reverse mentoring. There is much to learn from the people who are closest to new technologies and customers. Staying up to date on technological trends is critical in inspiring your team's confidence and respect for you. If you lose their trust in your capabilities, they will choose to leave or may even replace you. For up-and-coming professionals, seek out development and rotation opportunities to build out your existing digital and leadership capabilities, and be willing to take lateral moves to develop new ones. Even if these changes do not provide an immediate promotion, they will offer a valuable experience that will round out your qualifications. Many compelling candidates have experience in multiple disciplines, with career trajectories that are nonlinear and involve shifts and stints across different industries and functions. Carefully consider the types of companies you work for. The company you are associated with will define your brand. People will make inferences about your tech savviness based on your firm, even before looking at your specific qualifications. For example, a software company looking for a new COO with software experience centered their search around executives from other software companies, frequently ruling out candidates from hardware companies, even before looking at their qualifications. Become an architect of your own portfolio of experiences. This could be at one company or across multiple companies. Be mindful that the career steps taken by mentors and other senior executives may no longer be the way up the corporate hierarchy in today's evolving world. COVID-19 moved tech from the periphery into the center, and it is here to stay. Although tech and digital trends do not uniformly affect all jobs today, we believe it is only a matter of time before these skills become baseline qualifications across the board. Investing in these skills now will enhance your marketability and prepare you for the realities of our evolving business world.
A message from our sponsor, Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you here how it works. It's free, you can register free online. Just go to Anchor.fm and register. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or desktop computer. That's how easy it is. Anchor will also help to distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and many more other platforms. You can also generate income from your podcast, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. Now, you can download the Anchor apps from the Apple Store or Google Play Store. Enjoy the podcast. Thanks again.
Five ways to be a better digital transformation leader. There is no denying that 2020 was a tough year. It, and the global pandemic that came with it, has irrevocably changed how we work in ways few could have predicted. Yet for all of the challenges, the lessons of 2020 bring opportunity. Here's what I've learned about being a better digital transformation leader in 2021 and beyond. 1. Cultivate and embrace a beginner's mindset. I've long stood by this philosophy, but as the lessons of 2020 remind me, I simply don't know everything. Business and customer needs continue to evolve. The world continues to have challenges that need solutions, and new situations will inevitably prompt you to learn, grow, and adapt. Not only as a leader, but as a colleague, a friend, and a family man, I learn something every day and, over time, have gotten more comfortable with not knowing the solution to every problem. I encourage my teams to adopt a beginner's mindset and challenge the status quo as well. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't shy away from new environments, and, as a leader, you must rise to the challenge to help your teams to meet business needs and drive outcomes. 2. Recognize the need for change and respond with urgency. Digital transformation is not necessarily a new concept, but it is notoriously difficult to implement. Never has there been a more necessary time or greater opportunity. Now, we need to change whole organizations and all the underlying systems and processes therein, from top to bottom. It is not as easy as making something digital that wasn't before. True digital transformation is about completely reimagining the way an organization works, from systems to data, to processes, to experiences, to people. To implement transformation at this level has to be backed by a strong vision and strategy, and an airtight operating model to support that strategy. This remains the case even more so now in our new environment. While the need for transformation isn't new, the challenges of 2020 upped the ante, so to speak. Businesses no longer have the luxury of time. Instead, the need has been rather unceremoniously forced upon them. Having focused on digital transformation at Cisco for the last 2 years, my team has already made significant progress in our transformation journey, and in many ways, 2020 has simply accelerated that timeline and imposed new levels of urgency and agility to assure the supporting operating model can accommodate the accelerated change. 3. Reinvigorate your focus on culture. Now more than ever, focusing on employee experience is critical to enabling the best customer experiences. For my team, this is twofold. First, one of our core missions is to transform the processes, experiences, and platforms that Cisco employees use to deliver to our customers and partners. Supported by a strong vision and operating model, our approach is to bring together the right mix of expertise and technology to seamlessly connect every part of the business. We use data, insights, adoption metrics, and feedback to shape those experiences. Second, and equally important, is a concentrated effort on the culture of the organization. While you collectively need to act with urgency and agility, you also need to take the time to slow down and have some fun along the way. In my organization, we have built a team of volunteers who work to instill a culture of curiosity by designing programs, activities, and events geared toward healthier and happier work lives. For example, we recently launched a 21-day challenge to develop healthier habits, everything from taking a 20-minute walk in the afternoon, to reading a new book, to decluttering our physical and digital worlds. Participants are tracking their progress in an app, sharing learnings, and building a community along the way. 4. Open your virtual door and practice progressive transparency. I've always maintained an open door policy and modeled a flat hierarchy, but what does that look like in a 100% virtual environment? That means being open and available for conversations with team members at all levels of the organization. It means scheduling more skip-level one-on-ones and really listening to what employees are saying and how they're feeling, and then implementing changes to support them where appropriate. Exemplify radical transparency through consistent, open communications with teams and ensuring that team members feel comfortable sharing their views and opinions. Through all of this, remember that everyone's experiences are different and respect boundaries as much as possible. While there are times we have to rally together and respond quickly, respect and support individuals' needs, including the need for downtime. My goal in leadership is to develop a high-performing team and provide a forum for people to learn, grow, and prosper. To do that, I believe in fostering an environment where team members can collaborate, share ideas, give back, and help each other. My role isn't to solve every problem, it's to enable my team to identify options, provide recommendations, and tackle challenges effectively. 5. Re-examine your leadership altitude level. Many times in my career, I've revisited what I consider the core tenets of my leadership philosophy. One such tenet that I invariably fall back on is the altitudes of leadership that I learned about during my advanced management program at INSEAD. The concept teaches that effective leaders operate at 50,000 feet with a strategic view, 500 feet with an operational view, and think at the 5-foot level as well, focusing on personal awareness and development. While the landscape is different as 2021 continues, the approach remains key to leadership. Define and align on a high-level strategic vision, develop a strong operating model to support and execute, and continually improve and refine as we go. While it feels we are approaching brighter days ahead, we will inevitably continue to face change and challenges. Looking back on what I've learned with my team over the last year, I am looking forward to tackling those hurdles together, perhaps even more effectively and collaboratively than in the past.
Digital transformation, 5 new realities for CIOs. After the upheaval of 2020, are you cultivating employee loyalty? Baking security in from the start? CIOs leading digital transformation in 2021 face new risks and opportunities. The massive digitalization we've seen over the last year will likely be remembered as one of the most enduring hallmarks of the pandemic's influence on society. Because of this widespread digital transformation, executives, particularly CIOs, are facing a number of new, completely unexpected realities that present a mix of risk and opportunity. And how we handle them will have a huge impact on business success. Let's explore 5 leading examples. 1. Digital acceleration. The first few months of COVID-related lockdown saw companies' digital communication strategies accelerate by 6 years, and nearly 80% saw the increased budget for digital transformation, according to a study by Twilio. IDC projects that IT spending will climb to $6.8 trillion over the next 2 years. With barriers like competing priorities and slow executive approval now out of the way, CIOs have a tremendous opportunity to execute on the transformation plans that had been stalled for years, including the transition to cloud-based technologies. As we continue to push forward with the digitalization agenda, it's opening a world of opportunity, literally, for IT and business operations. Now, geographic boundaries are mostly irrelevant, and from now on, we'll enjoy the flexibility to place employees wherever they're needed and give them the freedom to choose where they live and work. Thanks to the greater adoption of cloud technologies, there are almost no limitations. 2. Everything from home. We're not just working from home but also attending school, shopping, and conducting all essential communications without ever walking out the front door. Many jobs that we previously thought were only doable from the job site can now be done remotely. Product development teams now have their living rooms and garages full of parts, equipment, etc., harkening back to the early startup era for companies like Apple, HP, Microsoft, and others. Of course, the more we do from home, the more our finite bandwidth resources are taxed. Traditional peak hours for internet usage were in the evening, but with everyone home 24/7, streaming everything simultaneously, the Wi-Fi is straining to remain stable during an employee's more ideal work hours. We must equip WFH employees with the technology and bandwidth they need to be productive and efficient. Allocate budget to upgrade employees' home networks to premium bandwidth. Nothing causes more headaches than choppy bandwidth on Zoom when trying to support clients. 3. High risk is the new normal. With the move to the cloud and WFH, we're now forced to manage a high-threat environment every time an employee fires up a laptop or mobile phone and taps into the company network or cloud resources. Social engineering and phishing ploys, especially those using COVID-related tactics and preying on stressed-out employees, are on the rise. That means home network security now falls under the IT decision-maker's purview, and real-time security scanning with immediate response and remediation across all systems and infrastructure is essential. Multi-factor authentication should top the requirements list, as should keeping employees informed and well-trained about threats as they arise. We no longer have the luxury of battening down security later. It must be baked into everything, every sandbox, every prototype, every cloud-based lab environment, from the start, because the minute it comes online, it's already vulnerable. 4. Highly distributed incident response. For companies like ours with customers all over the world, responding to their needs with a distributed workforce presents both challenges and opportunities. With calls and network traffic routing differently and the sometimes questionable quality of home internet connections to support remote troubleshooting, customer support is much more complex. This creates multi-step incident management processes and sometimes requires leveraging people in various locations to solve customer issues. But it also gives us the opportunity to have our employees closer to our customers. No longer bound by the need to be physically present in the central office, our team can now provide higher touch support by more easily going on-site when needed to serve their needs. We've empowered our team, as well as our partners, with the data and tools they need to deliver a more customer-centric experience at each step of the customer journey. 5. Support human connections. Remember back before COVID when we were all struggling with a huge talent gap? While that seems to have been sidelined, it's likely not gone completely away and very well may re-emerge with a vengeance once we return to some semblance of normalcy. Are you doing enough to help cultivate employee loyalty? Maya Angelou famously said, "At the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They'll remember how you made them feel." This is especially true now with employees feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Now more than ever, we need to remember that employees are more than their job roles, and leaders must focus not only on how to make them more productive but also more valuable. In every decision, prioritize the human element and support connections as much as possible. Enable virtual water cooler moments using technology and communications that emphasize connection and understanding. Remember that employees are essentially opening their homes to their workplace while also dealing with personal challenges like distance learning with their children at home or even potentially losing loved ones to COVID. Treating your employees with empathy and compassion and offering them flexibility will foster motivation and engagement and ultimately loyalty, which can be incredibly valuable as the world begins to reopen. IT leaders and managers can sometimes easily get caught up in focusing on technological challenges and solutions, but recognizing and planning for how those affect people is a huge part of post-COVID operations. By learning to navigate the new realities with empathy and people-centric consideration, CIOs can be much more effective at steering the organization toward success.
Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. Please also support us by clicking the support button at our page anchor.fm/Maifors, Maifors. That's all for today. Hope you enjoy the podcast. We will see you again in the next episode. Have a great day, take care and stay safe.